Yeah, meanwhile, thanks for the last section, Arvind. We had I was thinking about karma yoga from aspects of when work is very difficult,
Mm.
and yeah, it got me thinking and doing some more reading. And I sent you a note.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think that was a good question to ideas to reflect and use this knowledge. And so yeah, thank you. Okay, so we are on karma yoga, and just to rewind a little bit, uh, in this journey, Arjun in the Gita was willing to renounce the world, his duties. So that's one level. But there are people who are even, you know, very apathetic about everything. They say, okay, you live only once, and live and let live, and have a good time. Don't try to get too involved. It's okay if the world doesn't need changing, and I also don't need any change. Let's just enjoy. This life is for enjoyment, and so at least he's better than that level. And he's thinking about his duties. He's got these ethical dilemmas. He's concerned about people and society. But what Gita's message does is gives him another vision, which is of service, and that changes many things. Currently, I'm conducting a training program in Raebareli, which is a small town, hardly a small town. It's actually at the outskirts of town, so back of beyond. And there's a nice training facility for CBSE officers. So my vision of it was that everyone will be quite enthusiastic about the training, and even the manager here or the officers here who are organizing the hospitality will also be quite engaged and very interested in this. But gradually, I realized that not everyone's looking at uh, their service in a holistic way, and I might also have to be corrected here. So the person who was in charge, he was very enthusiastic on the phone when he called me, but I was hoping that he would attend my session or sessions of other people also. But he had a clear hierarchy and understanding of his duty. That is, just to make sure that all the guests who arrived are comfortable and make sure that he manages everything. But at the same time, he's also at a senior position, and I really thought that it would be a good way to, get him to hear all this and have his views and have a discussion. But it wasn't to be. But of course, there were students and junior officers and others. So I had a really lovely interaction. But it sort of helped me think of levels of service, and it's not just how we look at service. I mean, I had an approach that I want to serve everyone I meet here, but it wasn't like that. But then I focused on who wanted to. So yeah, that was my realization about service. It's very layered, but yes, going beyond just simply living life of enjoyment, choosing to go beyond your comfort zone, uh, and of course beyond renunciation. So Gita is definitely a guidebook that helps us translate or replace a lot of these doubts and negative emotions of fear, lamentation, confusion, in many interesting ways. And I have a friend who's written a book about 18 negative emotions and how the Gita, through different verses in different chapters, help you navigate, say, anger to forgiveness, greed to satisfaction, lust to love. His name is Rasik Raman Prabhu, and he's written this book. It's a beautiful book. He also started a course on this subject, and I'll share the link. Um, so yes, we were at a point in this book, Gita and the Dark Night of the Soul, where we dive deeper into aspects of karma yoga, and we are at this place uh, where Simon has kind of realized from his experience of catching that flight that sometimes letting go actually produces great results. If you're trying to force an outcome, it also tends to bring out the worst in us, he says. We get caught up in a cycle of want and frustration. We find ourselves resisting the present, lamenting the past, and hankering for the future. We are not present in here and now. This is disempowering. This is a disempowering way to act, which leads only to bewilderment. So, anyways, and then there's this whole scene about how monkeys act in Vrindavan, they want that banana or mango juice or whatever else. But they're so mischievous, and they have this very conceited and deceiving way to get that banana and mango juice, because they take away your spectacles or your phone and they start nibbling on it. And that experience was really interesting. I was thinking, are we all going bananas? To that line was there. It really made me laugh. Uh, so, despite its exceptional intelligence in the pursuit of the desired object, the monkey is easily fooled. If the monkey, because there were these monkey catchers who found a trick where you could place a banana inside a bottle, and the monkey could put his hand inside the bottle, but could not take the banana and his hand out at the same time. So they would struggle with it, and while they were distracted, the monkey catchers would catch them. So yeah, so we all have these crazy bananas in our lives. And then he gives about a list of things that could be self-inflicting, and in terms of how we live our life. The monkey, if it would simply let go, could simply find many more bananas elsewhere. But he can't relinquish this particular banana. Also, he can't relinquish his idea of what he needs to do to get this banana. The monkey is in a form of captivity even before the trapper bags him. Krishna emphasizes the importance of letting go of our attachments. At first, Arjun misunderstands. He thinks Krishna is advising to give up the world. Krishna, that the secret of action is with the world without renouncing the world itself. Okay, so this is great, but when Arvind post the call, stage message to respond to his closing remark. Yeah, given a situation that our job requires to do something which is unethical, or rather not requires, we are kind of coerced to think that it requires. Say, being a public servant, you have duty to kind of be ethical, to hold on to the constitution. Our constitution serve the public, use money of the public in terms of taxes collected wisely. But the system is such that it could lead to unethical practices, and you're kind of part of the system, and you just say, okay, is this my duty? You doubt that. How is it possible to do something you care about without feeling attached to results was one part of it. But the second part of it is, can this form of yoga be applied to anything we do? Can this be applied to this system that you are in? Can this be something that we are not sucked into to do something wrong? And the answer was yes. What matters most is not what you happen to be doing, but how you do it. It's about the right attitude and motive. So the intention from the inception. Then there's meaning even within difficult or frustrating tasks. So this again boils down to the idea of making informed choices using the dharma principles. What is the real truth in this situation, right? What is the truth that you're serving? If it's against that, of course, your choices have to be to uphold ethical standards and not follow the corrupt system. So then, of course, that's just one framework of dharma. The second framework of dharma is to discern, right? So to be in environments, to discern what you are taking in, how it's affecting you. Are you going to get sucked into an unethical practice or a system? How do you defend yourself? Ahimsa is actually how, through your thoughts, words, and actions, the third principle of dharma, which is ahimsa, is to have a way to be assertive, at the same time make sure you set a standard for future people who follow you, who look up to you, to also have that feeling of not getting sucked in, and also being assertive and making sure that you're sticking to the principles the job really requires you to have. So this, in short, was part of the answer, I think. But it seems so simple, but I still have a doubt, Arjun would say. I'm worried that if I take a non-attached approach, maybe I'll be less effective at what I do. Maybe I won't do it quite well. So very often we feel that in the mode of passion, we have to really do many things, and it's really hard for people to feel that okay, if we live with this philosophy, we'll actually end up doing less, and we'll become complacent and not do things skillfully. We'll do fewer things in a day, in an hour, that maybe other colleagues and other people will be doing. Krishna's reply goes, no, you'll be able to act more skillfully and more effectively than you can imagine. By remaining unattached and approaching all our work with a mood of service, your best qualities will naturally emerge. Because when you give, you actually think your heart, your head, and your hand are kind of aligned. And so it becomes a lot more freeing. There's less stress. And so, anyways, this is Simon then again says that his teacher uh, went on to explain that letting go of the fruit frees us to act impeccably. And when we act impeccably, success will find us. When we let go of results, we make a space for the action to become its own reward. In doing so, we'll remain fulfilled, whatever the results. So there is a way to live beyond binaries, was the last point he was trying to make, that it's not about success, failure. It's not just about gain or loss, praise or blame, triumph or defeat. If we rise above this and become Atmarama, which is have another source of our internal, our North Star, our internal compass of our own peace and happiness, then we are not looking at our task from these binaries, whether it will be good for me, whether it'll get me praise, whether it'll make me happy, whether it'll give me this reward. And it reminds me of Queen Kunti's prayer, where she talks about the river and the oceans. And that's something he's also mentioned in this in the closing. Similarly, whether good things flow into our life or not, whether difficulties emerge or not, a person situated in yoga remains undisturbed, like the ocean. Whether such a person has everything or nothing, they remain self satisfied. They are never shaken, even amid greatest difficulties. Queen Kunti's life was kind of, a learning for all of us that we are in this world, there will be suffering, and how we look at it is different because of a connection to her source of divinity. In this case, Sri Krishna. She was uh, kind of looking at it as actually a blessing that because of that she could remember, because of the difficulties in her life, she could remember Krishna, and the fact that that took her closer to her spiritual aspirations and goal was actually a blessing and not a negative. If you have that view about any suffering, could be bad health or whatever else that you're dealing with, it just changes a bad boss, bad this, bad that, whatever. But first of all, whether how do you label people, or how do you label a situation, is also something this framework helps you let go of that attachment to that label that you give people or situations. Such a yogi lives perfectly in the present moment, which is Kurukshetra, the field of now, and using Dharma Shastra, Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, we can actually live that life and get to our stage of being Atmarama. We'll talk about chapter 10 for a few minutes, but before that, any reflections? This Karma Yoga part is obviously something we can all talk about. Yes, so go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and now that you were talking about how helping others would make you feel better, I just wanted to share how there's this term called as helper's high. I don't know if it's a Gen Z term, but it's something that is quite popular nowadays. I've been working on this article lately, and then the article is based on, what exactly helper's high is. And what's the biological basis behind it. So how, your dopamine rushes when you help someone. I think I could relate quite a lot about what you were talking today, because personally I'm writing about it right now. But it's very true that nowadays people focus a lot on luxury goods, and I mean that definition of happiness is very different nowadays, right? But it all boils down to the real happiness that you get when you help someone and someone benefits or feels better because of you. So that ultimately comes down to the helper's high.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I think psychology meets spirituality here. So yes, thanks for sharing, and it's a wonderful service that you're doing to share this with the world with your article. But again, go beyond the psychology. There's a lot more. There's many more layers in the Gita which explain this helper's high. In fact, the Srimad Bhagavatam would be a wonderful text for you to really understand what the helper's high is. Simple example is, say you show up on your grandfather's birthday and he lives in some other city, and you really plan the day and make it special for him or her or grandmother or granddad. Uh, and so the happiness he or she gets is one thing, but the joy that you see in their eyes gives you ananda, a bliss. And that is living from a place of non-violence, right? When you're thinking about the other and you're not causing harm to the harmony cycle of the world and the cosmos, your service is an act of worship, and that's called yagna. And so when we have that, yeah, we can also have a helper's high for sure. But bliss sounds better than a high, because see, when we want something, yeah, this is an important point for you for your article, I feel, and you can also correct me. Uh, a helper's high means I want something, right? I want that high which I get from dopamine. So whenever there's
Yes,
an
sir.
I, not service. Okay, that's lust. Okay, when you take your eye away, I attended the session called I Am Remarkable, and oh my God. I mean, I like that person, so I didn't comment too much, but it was basically about diversity and inclusion, and, feel good about yourself, feel good about your uniqueness, feel good about, and us be assertive, talk about how remarkable your achievements in the world. It was so much against the Vedic principles of living life or being a humble person. But obviously, I was, not refuting her, and she had invited me to it, and I was really appreciating that at least, people are thinking of how to spread the word. The basic point was that, when you keep yourself in the center, you're trapped in the cycle of birth and death. That doesn't mean you completely let go. That's why this Karma Yoga chapter is super important to understand these layers. I hope that helped. Any questions on this?
No, that's
Yeah.
clear.
Okay. Yeah. So with Dr. Ninad and you, I have lots to do at Flame University, and I hope one day we'll get to do something. Okay. Very last point on chapter 10. So this he just begins. Its chapter is called "Make Your Work an Offering," and he talks about how he's writing his first book. This is his second book, Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul. But Simon also wrote the book of Dharma, which we'll actually read next if you're all game for it. He talks about how he was feeling a bit conceited in the way he was approaching this, and he one point he was writing that he doesn't want anything from life; he just wants to make his work an offering, blah blah. But at the same time, he was planning, he was worried about how this book will be received and this and that. So tomorrow's session, we'll talk about the false ego and how his realizations shaped it, and also about how he then restarted writing the book with that mood of true, true person who's true to his service. Okay, so that's about it. But Arvind, would you like to share any closing reflections?
No, I in chapter 10,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with most of the things that have been mentioned there, and they are definitely, when you're giving, definitely it's more enjoyable, and then you work without the fruits in mind. Then definitely you enjoy the process much more, and you get much more than what would have if you had been fixated on a result. That I agree. But I just one you should mind when you it the whole thing on seva and you enjoying the work, how it
Hmm.
contrasts with the modern system where people, you know, tend to do work a little and project much more.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll unpack that tomorrow
Where
for
you
sure.
let's unpack that tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you. You're always leaving with a cliffhanger. Leaving. Thanks. Thanks.
Welcome.
Look forward. See you.
Thank you.